Okay, welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of the Stickmen pod. Rene, nice to be back again, brother. Good to see you. Happy Friday, all that shit.
See you. Yeah,
Cool.
nice Friday.
How was your week?
Rough. A lot of work. Um, a lot of work because, well, not because of that, but I might have underestimated some project, and then I was stressing about it. But now it's fine. We had a meeting at the end of today, of the workday, of course. I usually hate those Friday meetings, but it's nice when you have a meeting of this. This is looking good now. So
Yeah. I can
it's
imagine.
nice to have some closure for the week that you can actually relax and just chill for the week, like the weekend. It's nice.
Yeah, I sort of had the same thing last week, actually. So obviously I started that new poker sort of job like 2 months ago now, I guess, or so. And this month I've made like a bet with some of the players in there about how many hands I was going to play this month. So I was going to play 10,000 hands. And I ended up playing 4,000 hands, which is like nothing. And which means I've got to swim 6,000 meters in the pool, which is not ideal. But basically, I didn't expect to drop that short. But the reality was, I was just dealing with some other stuff, working on myself. Like, somewhat ironically, was in the gym and in the pool a lot, like swimming, trying to like get in some shape and things like that and stuff. So I've been focusing on other things, but I felt a bit guilty about it. Like, I thought like my coaches and like people like that were going to just feel like I've let them down. And I got some really nice feedback from the team, basically, that they're really happy with me and that they're a lot more like understanding with like mental health and the physical health being way more important than like just grinding at the moment and stuff. And I'm doing a lot of study and things like that, and my game's improved. So that, yeah, it was so that was the same sort of thing, man. Like a really nice meeting as well.
Don't you think it's a bit of the, because I'm a quite anxious person, and I think you might be as well. I think we have very similar traits in many ways. So
We're both incredibly handsome as well. So
in my brain, yeah. I mean, other than the obvious, the because I've had the similar experience. For example, for me in Finland, when I've worked in two different places, like, well, from my official kind of like what my profession is, and in both places, I think I put the bar too high for myself.
right,
Like I think for myself, I have a quite different standard than from other people.
yeah,
So I pressure myself quite a lot, and when I don't perform to what I think should be the ideal, then I'm quite rough on myself. I'm
yeah,
like, nah, man, maybe I'm not good enough for this. Maybe I just, these things I've been doing are shit. And then you get to some kind of like deadline, or you get to some kind of feedback session, and everyone's like, man, you're crushing it. You're doing quite good.
it's
And
pretty much exactly what
but for
happened. Yeah,
yourself, you're like, no, man, I should be better, kind of thing. And it's very rough to deal with that and realize what's the realistic kind of goal. It's a rough spot.
no, absolutely. It's pretty much exactly what happened. It was a case of like, I mean, the reality is I failed miserably on my goal, which was 10,000 hands, right? But like everyone around me was just like, yeah, but you're focusing on your focus is elsewhere, and that's fine. And like my goal is to get to the high stakes as quickly as possible. So like playing loads of hands at the like lower stakes, like $100 buy-in cash games, just isn't exactly like the best use of my time. The best use of my time is studying the solver, like discussing hands with other players, working on my physical and mental health, things like that. So yeah, totally good, and totally understand that as well. On a quick, so we did obviously our last episode last week, or our first episode for a long time last week, which was really nice. And I don't know about you, but I enjoyed it. It was nice to be back on like just kind of doing this thing. Remembered how much we enjoyed doing it, kind of thing. And I got like quite a bit of feedback, which was kind of interesting. Like mostly positive, and like really glad to see you guys back, and you both look really well and all that kind of thing. So, excuse me. So good things there. But it was kind of funny where like, obviously I touched on my life situation changing, and hence why I'm here, and whatever, and being single now and things like that and stuff. But I got a bit like multiple people sort of had mentioned like that, but they said that they were a bit disappointed that I had maybe gone, like in their words, gone easy on my ex with the situation, and like and that I'd taken too much responsibility, or that to the
people want blood, ain't it?
exactly, yeah. And they sort of suggested that the outside viewer who doesn't know really myself very well or my ex might think that I was kind of accepting blame for the whole situation. And I sort of responded that like, the thing is like, all I can, in my opinion, the best thing to do is to just like, there's no point me focusing on her like actions and her mistakes or her wrongdoings kind of thing. Like it's better off like in any situation, right? When just focus on, be accountable for the things you did and the things that you can improve, right? And that's how life improves. So that was the kind of route that I wanted to take. Like she knows what she's done, what the things that she's done wrong. I know the things that I've done that's wrong. And it's sort of best that I comment on the things that I've done wrong as opposed to the things that she's done wrong. You know, like it's like a kind of,
you should concentrate on the things you can change and do something about.
It's like there's no point me like dragging her under the bus, right? Or throwing her under the bus and going, oh, she lied about this or she did this or whatever. And it's just like I understand that some of my close friends and stuff are going to say, well, you were way too easy on this or you should have said this. But it's like, what good does it do is kind of my point. And I think that's kind of something that maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that's why we took the break from the podcast, because I thought I didn't want to just jump on here and be like the bitter ex-boyfriend who's like, yeah, she's a bitch, she did this and she did this or whatever, you know, sort of stuff. And the reality
which is very mature, I would say. Like most people just like would like, turn the knife, use a knife, you know, like
it's like it's just like one of those things where whatever she's done is her business, and the only thing I can sort of do is tell what I've done. And don't get me wrong, like as I said to you, I'm very disappointed. There's been a few moments where we've got quite a lot actually mutual friends. And I've spoken to a couple of the mutual friends about it, and I found out that maybe she'd kind of lied about some things, you know, after the fact, and it did bother me. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, do I want to go around to everybody trying to correct my version of the story, or do I want to focus on moving forward in my life and doing things that kind of, you know, improve my life? Because it's just like, she can do.
To be fair, like whatever you say is like, it is what it is, mate. Like you cannot change. Like
exactly.
And I think it's on whoever's conscious. Like, I think you and I have the same. I would say it's a curse. I think it's very good, but sometimes it causes some trouble. But I don't think we are people who lies. You know, because for me, lying brings so many problems, and I'm just very quite transparent. I don't have a problem talking about any topic.
Yeah, to me, lying is complicated because you're going to forget. The best way in life, in my opinion, is to just give the story the version of the truth, right? Because the truth that you remember, you'll remember. But if you start trying to like lie about certain details, you just trip yourself up, and you say, oh, well, we actually I said this, but you know, yeah. So without
making your life harder.
Exactly. That's just my my spot on it. And it's like at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, it's for those that think that I went too light on it, kind of thing. I just don't think this is the platform as such to like air my dirty laundry is the way they put it, I guess, isn't it? Like to kind of, her and I both know what we've said.
That will bring clicks though.
Say again?
That will bring clicks though.
Clicks, yeah. Get on TikTok, like, you'll never believe what my ex said. Like, yeah, 1 million views, but no, for sure. So it's just one of those things where, a couple of my friends thought that I was basically like taking too much responsibility or accepting fault. And that's not the case, but I'm just, the best thing to do in all like failures, and a relationship ending is a failure, right? On both sides, is to be accountable for your actions and the things that you can do better in the future. And that's just sort of what I've done, is gone, I was depressed, I was down, I put on loads of weight, I was not productive. There's shit tons of stuff I did wrong, right? So it's kind of there, and I can sit here and list off a 20-minute, a whole podcast on the things maybe she did wrong, but it's like, that's not my side of the coin, right? It's better off to focus on that. So, which sort of brings me on to like the first, I don't know, half or whatever, the thing I wanted to discuss on this podcast, which is, so I started working with a mindset coach in my new like career and stuff. And honestly, it's been like amazing. And I'm almost annoyed I haven't done it earlier. It's really changed things for the better for me. Like, and one of the things that he sort of put me onto, it was before him that I started getting into a thing called daily habits, but he's kind of really hammering home like the importance of that. So I talked about this previously, that my current 2 daily habits, which this is a habit this is like a task for anyone who doesn't know, that like you just do every single day, and you commit to doing it every day. And my 2 they seem probably pointless to most people, but I do cold showers and I do meditation. And I've been doing them for, I think the cold showers is now like day 76 or so. And the meditation is like 65. I'm like 9 days behind on the meditation. I started it later. So yeah, like the cold showers I absolutely love. Like I can't explain to you even really why. It's just like a weird kind of, it's really good for, I can't explain why it's so good for your mental health. It's just one of those things where and for those of you that don't know how I do it, I just get in the shower, have a normal shower, and then at the end of the shower, I just blast it on ice cold for like a few minutes kind of thing. The longest I did was 10 minutes, which was pretty wild, but yeah, but normally I do it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I've been kind of like cheating in the sense of I go to the gym pretty much every day now, and they have an ice shower next to the sauna. So I take my sauna and then I come out and I take an ice shower, and it's really good. But it just kind of like, sort of energizes you, makes you feel really good for the day, just feels good. I can't explain it. And it's like a weird kind of psychological thing where I know every day I take my cold shower, it just makes me sort of feel good. And the meditation, I'll be honest, like I don't really get on with it, but I'm sticking with it because there's enough research and enough smart people out there that swear by it, that are smarter than me. So it's just like, whatever, I'll stick with it. It must have some positive effect.
I've done meditation, like we used to do it. I was training ninjutsu at some point.
Yeah.
Bujinkan, and there was a guy who got really into it. We used to do it before training and after, 5-10 minutes before, 5-10 minutes after.
Okay, yeah.
And at that time of my life, well, it's when I was in university. I was very skeptic. Like, I just didn't believe. Like, I was a bit like, it's just a waste of time. But I did notice quite many benefits right away.
Yeah, that's
because I rarely take silent moment for myself, and
yeah. That's sort of what annoys me is like I know so many people that say that like, oh, I noticed the benefit straight away, and I kind of haven't, but I'm the kind of person who I am a massive overthinker, and I think like constantly. So as you just sort of said, like taking those like 5 or 10 minutes a day just for yourself, even though I'm gonna feel like I've failed in the meditation, because the point of the meditation is to clear all thoughts and to just basically just exist, right? And have no thoughts, give your brain like a cool down.
Yeah, so, but that's almost impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the whole point is that every time a thought comes into your mind, you're supposed to like sort of push it away and concentrate your breathing and things like that. And I do it, but my brain has like, a million thoughts a minute, it's really difficult for me. And so I often feel like I'm just constantly just having this battle. And one of the mindset coaches in the group that I'm in was just like, that's fine. You can spend 10 minutes just battling your thoughts, but that's still something. But yeah, I think it's one of those ones where I just find it a little bit more difficult to gauge the benefits, and maybe the benefits will come like, a year from now kind of thing and stuff, which kind of leads me on to like there's a book I started reading called Atomic Habits. I should remember the author, but I don't. Apologies. I'll put the link in the description.
I haven't read.
Yeah, it's really good. And in there they talk about how basically the thing about daily habits is no matter how like small or meaningless they can sort of seem, like they add up. Now, and the best way I would put this is if you think about it in a simple term of if you're like, I was pretty overweight when I left Finland, and I started working out, right? And the problem is you start working out and you just don't see any result, obviously, right? You just go in the gym, like you throw some weights around or whatever, and you're just like, I'm still fat. And it's just one of those things where that is kind of...
most people get like, okay, I nothing has changed in a month, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite disheartening, right? Because like you go out for a walk, or you go for you try a run, or you do some weights and you just feel weak, you feel unfit, all these kind of things. And you just think like, oh, you just feel disheartened because you're like, oh, this is going to take forever. And yeah, it kind of is. Because you didn't get fat overnight, you're not going to get shredded overnight, right? It's the same, it's a two-way street kind of thing. And like, I started to feel the benefits now where like, you start to feel a bit stronger, you start to feel a bit fitter, you start to maybe think you look a bit better in the mirror or whatever and stuff. And it's quite addictive in a good way, right? You start to feel like you can see why people that are in incredible shape are in incredible shape, because once you see the results, it's like, I want more of that kind of thing. And that comes to like a thing where they talk about in this book, which is like the 1% per day rule. And it's basically just trying to like strive to become 1% better every day in every task you do. So it's like, they're saying that like the problem with why people get into bad habits is because good habits don't always show huge returns, like, instantly. So I've got a really good example of this. I think maybe it's kind of shit, but we'll go with it. Where one of my big like flaws in life, right, which sounds really stupid, and both my main ex-girlfriends will attest to this, where basically I have a huge problem with like I'll finish a bottle of drink or something, and I'll just leave it on the side, right, at my desk. And I'll go and get another one, and I'll drink it and put it there. And by the end of the night, I've got like...
You're going there anyway. You can put it back.
Yeah, exactly. And by the end of the night, I've got like 15 cans of whatever, or like, especially from the day, I'll have like all the like water bottles and cans of Coke, whatever. And then I start cracking some like seltzers or ciders and stuff. It's just an awful habit to get into. And I remember like, you know, my current ex, Melia, like to be fair to her, she was pretty like chilled on that front, where my previous ex, Sam, was like, hated me for it, right? Would just be like, basically like, take your cans away, like really like nagging about it, which is understandable. But yeah, Mealy was way more chilled, to the point where she'd say, hey, if you could just like bring them at least to the kitchen side, then I can sort of clear them from there. So she was like really easygoing in that regard. But it got me thinking.
Well, I have the issue with I need discipline, basically.
Yeah.
So exactly. I know Pecker is like quite like tidy and stuff, and like everything's in place here. Basically, my room is the only one that's messy, right? Because I'm the only one who's here. But I kind of need that pressure of like, I kind of feel bad, so I have to, because everything else is tidy, mate. Like, so I need to feel that. Nah, mate. Like, I need some like, I need to get this straight and like put things away, and otherwise, yes.
We take a bit of a like diversion, but I always remember like with Melia was like, she wasn't the tidiest person. She was way tidier than me, don't get me wrong, but she wasn't like the tidiest person, but she was clean, if that makes sense. So she'd keep the house, she would clean the house, but like, she worked very hard, and the kind of person that she would, maybe the house would get kind of like, not probably more my fault than hers, because when she lived alone, it was probably fine to just have one big clean a week. But with me, with just dropping stuff everywhere, like,
well, you had the cats, right? That doesn't help.
Yeah, the cats were definitely contributed to that. Can't find my bottle.
This mic still has cat hair. I mean,
yeah. But basically, the point is that like, I remember her saying like, oh yeah, we're like, how are we gonna sort the cleaning? And me just being like, well, we're gonna get a cleaner, because I hate to clean. I'm not gonna clean. Like, I have a cleaner here and stuff. It's just like, it's just not. I'm not that kind of guy where I'm just like, oh, it's not a good use of my time, which I don't think it is. But it's also, I just fucking hate it, and it's not that expensive. So just get a cleaner, right? It's one of those things. So, but Melia was quite proud in a weird sense of like, oh yeah, I'm not having some other person come and clean my house kind of thing. So she would do the cleaning sort of at the weekend. She'd put a podcast on, things like that. But to sort of get back to the main point, which is that like this is such a stupid little win in my mind, right? But I've had this problem I'm 35 years old, right? And I've had this problem for fucking 35 years, where I leave bottles everywhere. And now I've created a rule for myself that basically every bottle or like glass of water, anything, no matter what it is, when I go to the fridge to get a new one, like other days a good example, like playing a poker session, and it's like, I've been to the gym, whatever, I'm tired. I get a can of Red Bull. I drink the can of Red Bull, do my session, take a break, go to grab like another can of something or whatever, go there and come back, and I remember the empty can of Red Bull is still on the side. And normally I'd be like, leave it, whatever. But I've created this rule that nope, I'm only allowed one can on the side at a time. So I quickly have to grab it, and all I do is have to bring it to the kitchen side, and I can have like 20 bottles on the kitchen side, because then at the end of the day I can just grab a bag, put it all in, and recycle, sort of thing. Yes. So it's such a stupid thing, and this isn't really the purpose of the small habits, but that is the kind of example, right? It's like, that will seem to most people like, why is this guy bragging about clearing his bottles from the side? But the
thing is that you cannot start with like, oh, I'm a messy person. Well, now I'm gonna have a completely clean, impeccable house.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single, like, you cannot start with there, because that's why people fail, right? That's why people like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna smash 2.5 hours in the gym.
Yeah.
Massive leg day, first day, right? Because the second day you'll be like, oh, fuck it, man, I'm tired. You cannot start. It's like big thing. You need to start by small things, because now it will become a habit, right? After a couple months maybe, and then you are like, okay, exactly. Now instead of taking it to the kitchen, I'll put it on the fucking trash, and like, I don't know, like,
no, exactly.
You have to start building on something small.
Yeah, exactly. If, for example, like you're spot on. It's like it's about that sort of 1% better every day, because, if, like you say, a month from now, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to finish a can, and I'm just going to take it I'm going to put it to the designated area, right? And these things will just like translate over time into my apartment will just generally be cleaner all around, because I won't just be doing that. I'll be like putting my laundry straight into the wash, or putting whatever it might be, all these sort of things, right? And it comes down to this like 1% better every day thing, which, like, just a question for like put you on a spot a bit here, more as like a bit of fun, and for any like viewer that would like to do it as well, right? So, say again.
No, just kidding. I'm giving a random answer.
So do you know, like, if you get 1% better at something every day, or 1% growth every day in something, do you know what that would translate to over a year? So if you get 1% better every day of the year for a whole year, and for those of you that want to try and do this as well, you could just pause the video, like have a think about it. Like, yeah, 1% better every year, 1% growth every day for 365 days, let's say.
I want to say right away 365%, but I guess it like stacks, right?
Yes, it does stack. That's a clue, I guess.
I don't know. I'm gonna say over 365.
Yeah, so the answer is, in percentage, is 3,700%. So it's 37x. So yeah, so basically what that means is, if you, in any skill or whatever, or monetary growth or any compound interest, we'll call it, you 37x whatever that attribute is, or that condition, over the course of a year, which sounds cool, and it is, right? So to put that in perspective, like, let's say you had $100 and it increased by 1% every day for a whole year. By the end of the year, you would have $3,700. Which, when I thought about that, I thought most people, it doesn't sound as impressive as if you say, if you have $1,000, it's 37,000 by the end of the year. But I think the more important part to the coin than that is, it obviously works both ways, right? Like, if you get 1% worse every day, so bad habits, right? Which brings you down to like how bad habits affect your life. Now, the math isn't the same, like quite the same, obviously, because when you're reducing, you can't ever really get to zero. So just to spoil that one, it's like, if you get 1% worse every day for a year, you get almost to zero. So you get to 0.37. And that the same thing, right? That's how we get fat, and how we get unhealthy, and how we get broke or whatever, right? It's like these bad habits that just, like, when you get into good or bad habits, you become conditioned to keep them. It's just like very important, right? And like little things, that's how I end up with, 30 cans on my desk, because it's just a bad habit, right? So it's one of those things, and that's a very like blunt and crude
you're
example.
Like, maybe one can is not a problem. You need
exactly
7.
In the same way of like not going to the gym today and getting a Burger King, that doesn't hurt you today. It doesn't hurt you the next day. It doesn't hurt you the next day. It's like the 6 months down the line, when you put on 10 kilograms and you can't fucking walk up the stairs without being out of breath. That's when you start to go, oh fuck, these bad habits have started to kick in.
100%, yeah.
So yeah, so that's been really cool, where I'm concentrating on that. There's obviously more that I'm going to add to it, and I think I encourage everyone who like doesn't currently have like daily habits, without preaching, basically. I encourage everyone to try and like adopt a couple of daily habits. They can be like anything. Like I said, the cold showers I highly recommend. If you haven't tried it, just try it for a week or something like it, and just see how you feel. Especially now the winter's coming, where it's fucking brutal. Like, it was much nicer to start trying in July, but I definitely recommend it. And yeah, so that's that. Likewise, you could look at it in the sense of just like reducing your bad habits, like whether it's like, for me, stop leaving cans and bottles on the side, or things like that. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I don't know if it brings me down to, it sort of ties in with that sort of relationship talk, where when people had said this, the mindset coach made a point about this, where there had been a couple of spots where, let's just say, certain information maybe, where a mutual friend had said that, my ex had said this about a situation that, isn't true, just fundamentally isn't true. And it's like a case of like, well, I thought about maybe, because we're still like, we're not like, we don't hate each other, but we're not really talking. But I know I could say to her, hey, can we have a call? And she would say yes. And I thought I could call up and go, hey, I'm not happy that you said this or whatever, and things. And my mindset coach, again, he just had a really good like lesson, or I don't know what you'd call it, almost like a mantra kind of thing to adopt, not just in like a relationship, just in every aspect of your life, right? Which is basically, he said, I want you to think of this as like your North Star that you sort of go to every time when you're thinking of making a potentially like poor decision or a decision you're not sure if it's good. And it's just as simple as like, is this action or decision going to take me towards the future that I want? So it's basically a case of, let's say you have I don't know, to give the example of the ex, you think you and the ex have had like a problem and you think they're acting out of line or they're doing whatever. Well, you have a call, you can have an argument about it. They might apologize, they might disagree, they might whatever, but you're never going to get anywhere. And if, let's say it's something that happened 2 months ago that they said or whatever, and you go back and go, actually, you said this, but that wasn't true. It's like, who cares? Like, the actions are done. That this is never going to improve your life going forward if you start, complaining about the things that have already happened or things that you can't control. So it's like it's such a simple piece of information, but it just like helped me restructure the way I think, in the sense of, yeah, if I think about doing something that's potentially more emotionally charged as opposed to like logically or whatever, just go, is this going to help me build the future that I want? No, it's not. Then just don't waste energy on it.
It's way easier said than done,
Yeah.
But I get these, for example, very often. You probably have it, where, let's say on Facebook or Twitter, you see someone say something stupid.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I'm going to tell this cunt. And then you start typing and like type a paragraph. And then you're like, why do I bother, man? This guy, even if I'm spot on, this guy will not understand it.
Yeah.
Like, why would I? Like, I get nothing out of this. You delete it and you move on, right? That's what people should do. Because it's also this kind of like, for example, in this situation, right? You have an ex. Well, you broke up for some reason, right? I think when you break up with someone, what you should do is like learn from the mistake. What have you done wrong? Try to fix it and move on, right? And with the next relationship you will have, it gets better because now you have fixed those things that fucked you over.
Definitely, yeah.
On this past relationship, or at least you try, right? You improve. You probably didn't fix completely, but like you at least fixed a couple things right here and there, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, if you don't reflect on those and try to fix them or work,
you just
on them,
repeat the same mistakes over and over. Yeah.
The next relationship is gonna be fucked up. If you get hung up on those kind of things of like, oh, she said I felt bad because of this. Well, no one. Here's the hard like truth, right? No one cares if you feel bad.
Yep.
Probably your mom. That's that, mate. Like no one cares. So if I feel bad of something and I go like, oh, but you made me feel bad. Maybe I will say that, someone I'm like to my partner, hey, I didn't like that thing that you did or whatever. I might do that because you try to fix a relationship. If you already broke up, dude, what do you gain out of that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even if the other person understands, which I doubt they will, because in general, that's not a thing that happens very often, right? People don't reflect on those things, like especially if it's someone you're not in contact anymore. Why would you care? So what are you gonna gain from that? Just move on, mate. Work on your side, fix the things that you think you did wrong, and move on. I think that's the way more healthy and more beneficial for you on the long term.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I wasted so much time, like, a few months back when you're hurt and stuff still, and you waste so much time like trying to analyze their decisions or analyze what they're doing or what they're thinking or why they've done this or why are they doing this, and like loads of the dumb shit that they like doing, or you think that's dumb shit, or like, and you just start thinking like it just starts to become like it consumes you. You just start thinking it's the same. And I give the same advice to my poker student, right? My poker student does this thing where he'll play a hand and he'll play it like theoretically incorrectly. And I'll say to him like, yeah, I don't think you want to be betting this turn because X, Y, Z, right? And he'll just say, yeah, I just think against this player that he thinks this. And I just say, as soon as you start trying to think what some random guy on the internet that you're playing poker against is thinking, you're making assumptions that it's like a butterfly effect. You're just never, your decision making process and your response is going to be so far off what could be correct, because if they're not making those thoughts or if they're not having those thoughts that you think they are, so your assumptions are wrong, then your entire strategic response is wrong, right? So it's
you start just like it's like a snowball, right? You take one, this guy must be thinking this and must be thinking that, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, exactly.
It just go downhill.
Exactly, and that's the same as like the butterfly effect. It's basically I think this, therefore this. And if you're wrong on that first node of like the decision tree, suddenly your end response is just so far deviated from like correct response. It's just, it's bad. So yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things where, like you said, you can call the person up, like the ex or whatever, and go, oh, but hold on, I heard you said this, and this isn't true. You said that. And what are they going to say? They're going to go, sorry? Or they're going to go, like, they're not going to go back to every single person. They're not going to go back to every single person that they told this story and go, yeah, actually, I was wrong about, I was lying. This isn't how it went. It's like, who cares? Like you said, just got to let them be who they are. Let them do what they do, and focus on what you know, being the best version of yourself you can. And yeah, that's kind of the mindset coach. He's a great guy, and he breaks things down just generally, not just in like, you know, relationship drama or breakups and stuff. Like, yeah, he's very worth speaking to, and I've been enjoying it a lot, teaching me a lot about myself, which is good. On that note, let's move on to maybe something a bit more interesting and lighthearted, which is the second part of the podcast, which is, so I've recently, since the breakup, so I never really posted on social media. Like, not like I wasn't against it. I just kind of, I think like the sad reality, right? You're in a relationship, Rene, like, and I didn't really have much going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get to that stage where your days consist of, you wake up, she's gone to work, you go to your PC, you do some work, you know, you do your work, you play some games, you have some food, she comes home, you hang out, you chat for a bit, you eat food, whatever. There's not a lot of, you know what I mean? When you're single, you're like, you have a lot more going on in life because you've got more time and like no one to spend it with, right? So you just kind of do that. So in my entire relationship, I very barely posted on social media, just because there was no real need, right? I had nothing going on. But likewise, I didn't consume a lot of social media. So I barely went on Facebook, barely went on Instagram. So my ex, she was like relatively, sounds harsh, like relatively obsessed with TikTok, to the point where I didn't really know what TikTok was, but she'd be like laughing away on the couch, and I'd go in and be like, what are you laughing at? She's like, oh, it's just TikTok. And I'd go over there, and she's just like, this is what I found interesting. This isn't a dig on her. This is just like TikTok in general, and like the danger of it, I guess, is she'd come home from work like 3:30, whatever. She'd take like a nap for an hour, and then she'd just be like laughing away, right, on the couch. And I go out there, and she's just on the couch, just scrolling on her phone, scrolling around, right, for like best part of like an hour and a half, like a long time, right? And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just watching TikToks. I'm like,
it's just so short that it's just like, oh, one more is like 15 seconds, right? Like, and much.
Exactly. And I never got it. I remember thinking like you're wasting your time, like so much, sort of thing. And it's like only since I've like, you know, sort of broken up, and then loads of my friends have been sending me like reels, and I fucking love them. They're so fun. Like, some of them are so funny. I feel like, you know, the old man, like if I've come out of like a coma and the world's just changed, and someone sends me like a reel or a meme, and I'm like, this is the funniest thing ever. And everyone, I hate it. Like, I'll send someone a reel. They're like, yeah, I've seen that. I'm like, what do you mean you've seen it? You know, it's like, I'm like, I found this yesterday. I think it's brilliant.
But and, you know what? You know what's rough for me? Because, for example, my mom sends me tons of videos.
Right.
And I watch most of them, but very often I don't know what to say. It's like, oh, it was a really good video, right? But it feels stupid to respond the same to 100 videos. It's like, oh, it was good. So it's like, I don't know what to say.
And I'm not to it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I send some reaction of laughing or whatever, some small comment, because we don't talk every day, so it's nice to at least have a comment here and there. But for example, because people send those reels, right? And it's nice when someone sends you a reel kind of thing. Is this because I don't talk to people a lot?
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that we are friends. We'll be friends if we don't talk for 6 years, and we suddenly talk. I'll have a great time. I'll really enjoy the conversation, but I don't feel that need, right? Of like, I think sometimes people misunderstand that as like, oh, this guy doesn't care. But like, it is how I am. It's
I'm
like
the same. Yep.
But sometimes people send those reels, and it's like, it's very rough when you've seen them. So you just react. Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
But realistically, if you are on TikTok enough time, like, you'll see them. You've seen them. Like, and I feel like because of my line of work that I spend a lot of time on computer and stuff, like, you know, it's this like very often I've seen what's happened.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. Like, so I don't even have TikTok. So I think we made a TikTok for the podcast, like, you know, 6 months ago to do like some content that we just never really put out. But I don't have TikTok, but I have obviously Instagram, and on Instagram like there are the reels kind of thing, and yeah, it's funny where basically I've got a few friends that like spam reels to me, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, but it sort of brings me on to like these like how it's funny to me because everyone sort of people have discussed this before, but it's like I feel like the younger generation that they don't watch YouTube videos, they don't watch even Netflix. Like Netflix was like huge for us, right? At our age, it was like, but now it's like I imagine like people in their like early 20s, like all they do is watch TikToks, right? Because it's just like it's so addictive and so like time consuming, right? Like I said with my ex, that she could literally scroll the couch for like an hour and a half, just scrolling and having pure joy, like just laughing constantly, right? And then just obviously she probably just like forwards it to a friend or whatever, all this sort of stuff, and just does that. And it's like you've just worked your ass off all day, you've come home and you're just doing nothing with you're just chilling on the couch watching reels, like, and then go to bed. It's just like,
but at the same time, what do you do? Like you play video games, eh? Like
yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying like my time is spent more valuably, but I mean like it's a slippery slope where like the
100%.
the trap of the reels. It's like the kind of, to me, it was like, I was almost, when I saw her do it, I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just scrolling TikToks. I was almost like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and only when I found the reels, I'm like, I can now see why she was like basically addicted to them, you know, kind of.
But for most people, I think a lot of people don't realize, and this is a thing, right? That when people don't see the other people's perspective, right? And now you've seen it and you understand.
Yeah.
But I see it, for example, when you're playing video games, right? You don't feel the time.
Yeah.
And I remember I was working with this guy who liked playing video games, and the wife didn't like it. And I don't know what game he bought. And I was like, come on here, because the wife was telling, why don't you just play half an hour every day and that's that? I was like, half an hour? Like what? Like I just don't even realize, you know, it's 2 hours, but I didn't realize it was 2 hours. Like how can it be?
Yeah.
And I don't remember what game. He told me this story, and we used to play basketball together.
Has to be World of Warcraft. Has to be.
No. Like, because he got a game where they were both playing, and he used to play on Xbox, I think, or PlayStation. He bought some game that they both could play. Some simple game, I don't know, Lego, whatever.
Right.
And then, okay, let's sit down and play half an hour. Yeah. And then she was like, okay, well, he stopped the game. I was like, okay, it has been nice. Like, I think we should go sleep. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, it's half an hour. It's like, we've been playing 3 hours. Like, you just don't realize. I feel like those reels are the same thing. Like,
yeah.
I was crook. Bam, 2 hours.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, I remember a conversation with my mum like years and years ago, like where she basically said, it was like a summer, I don't know, I can't remember exactly the time, right? But it was like, I probably was in college or something. And I remember I was off for summer at college at like, I don't know, 16 or so. And I was spending my day, it was like beautiful summer's day, and I was just like playing like League of Legends or World of Warcraft or just some kind of video game, right? And my mum came in and was like, you really going to spend your whole day, like, what, you're going to waste your whole day playing this game? And I remember thinking, she was off as well, and she was just downstairs watching like reality TV. I remember just saying like, it's the same, there's no difference, right? And she kind of, I could see that point where like you don't want to like agree with your young son, but she was sort of like, she didn't have an argument. It was kind of like, and I said, if anything, mine's better because there's some like interaction involved. There's like, I have to use my brain, I have to like think, I have to solve things,
coordination and shit.
Yeah, like, but you know, when you're playing like a game and you actually have to make decisions, it's like there are some benefits to playing like, you know, skill games, whatever. But yeah, so it's like I think you're right about it just being like the other perspective kind of thing. And
it's the classic, like with those people like, I don't know if you've seen I've seen many versions of these, but they show a picture of like a whole train, everyone on their phone.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this sucks. Yeah, I remember when people didn't have phones and everything. And then you see a picture of the 40s, 50s. Everyone's the same with a newspaper.
Newspaper, exactly, yeah.
Like people just choose different ways to waste their time, but like that doesn't change anything.
It's like people used to talk to each other. It's like, no, they didn't. They just used to stick their head in a book or a newspaper, yeah. Yeah, which leads me on to kind of like the danger of reels, aside from the kind of the obvious of like the time sink, I guess they'd call it, right? Is like, I think that basically, I actually read a meme on Instagram, it was either today or yesterday, it was quite amusing, that said, me trying to figure out what's going on in the world from the one meme I've consumed. It's just some confused person staring at a meme, right? And it's like one of those things that's funny where it's true in the sense of so many people nowadays get all of their like news and information from fucking TikTok, right? Or it'll be like there'll be things like any topic you can fucking imagine, there'll just be like TikToks on it, and people will formulate their entire, like the gender pay gap in a fucking 7-second video, right? And it'll be like, and then somebody will like formulate their entire opinion on
100%.
gender equality from a fucking TikTok video they've seen. And
well, it's easier, ain't it?
Yeah,
it's easier to watch a 30-second video, tell me what I need to think.
But but the problem is it's like, it's the same as we've discussed Andrew Tate like quite a few times like in the past, and it's funny because I love the Andrew Tate they're probably TikToks as well, but I watch it, like I say, I consume it all on Instagram, so they're reels, and I don't know who does it, but somebody does these fucking really funny Andrew Tate where they're like, they do some kind of like
out of context kind of thing.
Yeah, they'll do like some half of it, like, oh, it hit me hard when Andrew said this, and then it'll flip to him saying something like just moronic, right? I'll give you a good example. Like, it was like, it's like really emotional, dark music, and it's like, it hit so hard when Andrew Tate said this, and it just cuts to a clip of him like going, why are women allowed to drive? And it's just like such a, like, you're not expecting it at all, and him just saying some like misogynistic thing or whatever. And like, I don't know the context of the original video, but it's probably tongue in cheek, right? It's probably him having like
100%.
making like, you know, bad banter of like, oh, women drivers, and then people
but that's
like,
also his thing, and he's I think a lot of these big, because that's what sells now.
yeah,
You have all these big people, like personalities kind of thing. Of
be a
Tate,
protagonist, yeah.
Piers Morgan, for example.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to say something completely outrageous, and people are just going to click on my video, watch it, and tell me how dumb I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I'm stupid, but you just watch an hour of my video and monetized it. Like, thanks.
Yeah, he has a video on that where he says, if you, whether you like me or not, if you're following what I'm doing, you're still a fan, basically. And that
confused.
And the worst thing about this is one of the things that I hate about the whole TikTok reels, whatever, that whole culture, or for lack of a better word, is I remember again with my, when my ex sort of introduced me to like these TikToks that people were doing, which was like, I don't know, there'll be some kind of like, they're called trends, right? So it'll be like some dance or whatever that everyone's doing, and they're all doing it, right? But the worst thing is there'll be these things where like some dude will, or some girl will do some kind of like viral thing where they just say something, right? And they get like, I don't know, even a good number, let's say 50 million views, right? And then suddenly like every fucking person under the sun is just reenacting it. Yeah. And I'm just like,
and there's people who get famous just copying it.
It's like you're not even coming up with original content. You're just basically copying somebody's. Yeah, to me it's just mad. And now, and I've only just found them myself, where I've seen the Andrew Tate, like, if you're, whether you like me or not, if you're following my life, you're still a fan, right? Which is amusing, whatever. And now I see like just random girls from like California in their car, right, with going, well, if you like me or not, you're still a fan. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, it's just, and it's like 200,000 views, and you're just like, it's just.
Yeah, but I guess that's just easy, isn't it? There's and I think this is like, if you do those, or if you do those lip syncs, like, you're not hurting anyone, right? Like, I mean, that's like, yeah, go for it, whatever. Yeah, I just find it crazy. But for me, what's annoying, like the most annoying ones are, for example, and I noticed these, for example, in the cooking ones, because that's most of my TikTok is like cooking stuff and like those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
I have it for the Mexican in the kitchen. And
shout out to Mexican in the kitchen.
Yeah, I haven't posted anything. I've been busy, but good stuff coming. And
my mum cooked your what was the one that she cooked?
Mexican pasta.
Mexican pasta. Yeah, it was fucking delicious, to be fair.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was good shit.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
But you get these kind of, and these were outrageous, me, right? You get these fake news and stuff. Those became big, but they sell. They give clicks, so that people keep doing it. And then you have this, for example, I noticed it on cooking recipes. It's like, oh, look at this recipe. And really good production, right? And they start like throwing everything, and yeah, these, and then they make something outrageously wrong. That you're like, mate, I know for a fact that doesn't work. That's like crazy, or that's like just plain wrong. And then they make the whole thing, and you're like, what the fuck? And you do get this impulse of like, I'm gonna comment on how stupid this is.
Yeah.
You open the comments, and all the comments are this like, oh, you're an idiot, or this and that and that. But then you see it's like
They do it
50
on
million
purpose.
because you commented. It gives more exposure, right? So
Gets
it
in
gets
the
like, oh,
algorithm, and yeah.
it's getting commented. Like, let's push it everywhere. And it's like we are making. I would say we, because like you click on the video, you already contributed. But we're making people that are just like dumb as fuck, or the people who do these pranks, like the guy in the UK and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you get outraged, so you will watch it again, and now you have a bunch of people getting famous doing like plain stupid thing, or like whatever, like right, like. But those are the people who are getting big as well.
Yeah, and it's like I just find it amusing that like I can't find a fucking reel that I send someone that like my friend hasn't seen because I'm like, yeah, I've seen that one. Oh, it's really good. I like that one. But like most of these reels, there's like 30 different people that create their own ones, and it's just like, yeah, it's just an odd. I guess it's one of those things to me where I just find it a bit odd that why you would want to do. I don't know. It makes me think like, is the world really that like talentless and uncreative that people can't just come up with their own things?
I don't think it's like the talent thing. I think it's just easy, man. You have so many people watching that if I copy what someone else is doing, I will still have enough views, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man. Like there's enough viewers for, especially on these 15 seconds videos, right?
Yeah.
Or a minute video. There's enough people watching that I can copy exactly what someone else is doing. I see it now, for example, like with Andrew Tate and those kind of like red pill things. I've seen it. Well, I can see it in Mexico because that's like, I mean, the market I kind of like consume sometimes, right? Like half of my TikTok, Instagram, whatever is like Mexican stuff. And then at least I know two guys that are copying word by word what Andrew Tate is doing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mexico, you have 100 million people, 120, and a huge percentage of those don't speak English,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah, so that makes sense.
This guy just copies completely what that guy says. He's massive. He's making a living now out of it. But when you speak English and you consume other stuff, and you're like, guy's just copying. But there's a big enough market that he's just making it, and he's crushing it.
So that makes sense, though, right? Because I think we discussed this before, like off podcast before, where I was like saying to you when you said that you brought up there was like people in Mexico like translating almost TikToks or whatever and sort of making a killing from it. I was like, at least they're providing some utility, right? Because the side of the world that can't speak English, if there is some Spanish speaking person that like makes the meme or the TikTok or whatever, it's like there's some utility involved. It's like they're taking somebody, as opposed to just some dude from California like just saying what Andrew Tate said. It's just like, I don't know. It's like it's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but I understand I understand it on the. You put your own twist, right? And there's always gonna be people watching, right? And that's not a good thing all the time, right? It depends on what you're providing, like. But yeah, I think nowadays there's so like this content is consumed so much. Like when you look at the YouTube numbers, it's like the videos uploaded every minute is insane. Like the amount of content there is just crazy, dude.
I wonder how much of it these days is shorts in comparison to like videos.
I think nowadays shorts are quite popular, yeah.
Yeah.
But for example, on my channel, because I think everyone has their segment, right? Because I can see it, and this is very clear. For example, with my girlfriend, she doesn't consume a lot of like she barely consumes social media. She doesn't have many accounts, like probably Facebook, and then she doesn't have a YouTube. I think now she created one. Now she owns my channel, and that's that, right? Like, and then. So when I discuss these ideas about like I have a couple YouTube channels like that I'm thinking of doing and these kind of things, when I discuss with her, she has often said like, "Well, I have no clue, mate, because I don't watch it. I don't know what people watch." And when I was showing the numbers and these like the podcast things, and she was surprised of like, "Oh, I didn't know so many people watch this." Like, because she still does the, comes home, grabs a book, or maybe watch on the Ule Arena, this like the local kind of like broadcaster.
Yeah.
Which is pretty decent here, but she watches those shows, right? That they provide. That's basically what you can watch on TV. She doesn't consume a lot of those things, so I can see there's segments for everyone. And for example, on my channel, it's mostly people from, I think, between 30 and 45 that watch it the most. Because that's kind of the segment that watches YouTube, right? I
Right,
grew up
yeah,
watching
exactly, yeah.
and like I like watching my, I don't know, 1-2 hours shows that are like comedy and stuff or whatever
Yeah.
in Spanish. And I think the younger generation is more used to this like short kind of like, you get the dopamine kind of
Yeah.
just like 15 seconds video, bam, does that next.
The big
So I think
question is, has
the generation will change.
yeah, I think you're right, and it makes you think like will YouTube videos like become shorter? Will podcasts, will they go? I don't think they'll go extinct. I think there's like still too many people of our generation that will be up there, or will it just float back round?
I think there's this kind of cycles, right? Because
Yeah.
if you remember, if you, I don't know how big was this. It was big in Mexico. We had Vine at some point.
Bind.
Yeah, Vine. It was Snap,
Okay.
and it was It was a 1 minute videos.
Oh, Vine. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, 1 minute, probably less.
It's like 9 seconds, wasn't it?
They were very short. I don't remember because
I think they were like 10 seconds or less or something. I don't know. Yeah.
very short. I remember, and that was huge.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it died. And it died, and people were saying like, "Yeah, this is too short. This is stupid, right? This is like, who watches this kind of content?" And it died. And then YouTube became huge,
And they just stole shorts.
or like kept growing. I mean, because I think they were around the same time. And then that's where the famous people from Vine in Mexico jumped to YouTube, and then a lot of those like big YouTubers like got created. And people were telling like, "Yeah, that short video ideas is stupid." And then you got like Reels. And then you got TikTok, and everything became massive. And now every app has shorts. Even YouTube got shorts.
Yeah.
So I think it's these cycles of like, I don't know what's next, but like
the big question is, and I think I know the answer. Does Petra consume the Stickmen pod?
No.
0%. Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah. It's funny.
I think if you watch podcast, she might at some point, but I don't think she. Here's where we are very different, right? And this was like, we were worried about it. Now it's not a problem, but I'm never in silence. I'm never in silence because I have the same problem as you. Like I overthink everything. If I'm in silence, my head is way too noisy.
Yeah.
So I like having always something on the background, even if I'm not completely paying attention. And she's the complete opposite. She can sit on the couch, grab her phone or a book, be in complete silence 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
So I think the podcasts are not for people like her.
Yeah,
I think it's more for people like us.
That should have been the red flag in my relationship. Just kidding. But basically, like Melia like spams podcasts, but she listens to loads of like true crime ones, like all finished though. Like, but loads of them. She like lives off podcasts, kind of thing. She didn't listen to one episode of our podcast, I think, which can't honestly say I blame her there. But it's like I just kind of it was a. She's got some friends that watch it as well. That's the funniest thing. Like a few of her friends listen to our podcast. And so imagine that, like at work, it's like, oh, did you see that Luke and Rene talking about this? And she's like, no. Just kind of amusing sort of side note, but
yeah.
I'm also I'm drinking Bacardi Breezer, which isn't the coolest thing ever, but I do miss seltzers massively. Oh, there it is, the Mandarin as well.
It's so good, man. It's really good.
It's the one bad thing. I say the one bad thing, but that's maybe run out of time for that sort of story. But the Budapest, I've not seen one seltzer. They just don't.
Weird.
Does not exist.
But I think they were big in the US, right? And then slowly have come to Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think White Claw were like the main one and stuff. But yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because like I listen to like things like the Joe Rogan podcast, probably like the main one I listen to. The Lex Friedman one, I think, as well. But it's interesting when you see some of these episodes, like especially the Lex Friedman podcast. Some of these episodes are like 5 hours long. It's like that's fucking insane. And
well, the thing is that if I slam it when I'm working, I always have something, right?
Yeah.
And because I have my other screens and stuff, and I will slam like Joe Rogan podcast there, just like leave it there, right? And I don't 100% pay attention, but I will pay attention from time to time. So if it's 5 hours, that means it's over half of my day.
Yeah.
So I can put it there and just like
You'd be fine, yeah. Yeah, the problem for me is I can't really listen to anything like that when I'm working because, well, I mean, I obviously could. I won't understand a word of it because my brain's so like preoccupied with poker. Like I can't. Like I listen to music, but more for the music, if that makes sense. Like my brain's like, you know, all over the place. Especially in this new game with 5 cards, it's a mess. So it's like, it's fun as fuck. Don't get me wrong, but it's so interesting to play a card game where like. Honestly, this sounds like degenerate. You're a professional player. You get it in on some spots, gets to the river, and you're like, "Have I won?" Like you don't even like, which is quite cool because, like in No Limit Hold'em, which is you got 2 cards, right? You get it all in. You see their cards. You see your cards. You know exactly what their like outs are, like how you lose the hand. So let's say you know they need a jack. You see the jack, and you're like, and it kind of becomes a bit tilting. You're like, "Oh fuck, they hit the jack, whatever." But in 5 card PLO, you just get it in. You look at your percentages at the start. You're like, okay, I got it with 62% equity, cool, and you just move on. You don't even look back because you don't even know what they need because you can't really be bothered to work out the 5 card draw they got. You just like So but yeah, I can't listen to anything because it's just like it takes so much of my brain capacity to just focus on what 5 cards I have here, what the board is, all this kind of stuff. But
for me, it depends. If it's something crucial, then I do pause it. But then I remember since I was a kid, I have the TV on while doing the homework. And my mom was always pissed. Like, put the thing off and stuff.
Yeah.
And later, now, for example, when I was at the psychiatrist, like, thinking I might have ADHD, she was like, no, I don't think you have. Like, you've been quite a good life. And then when we got to that question, I was like, well, I don't know, man. Like, I always have something on, like, when I work and stuff. Like, and she knows what I do for a living. And she's like, but when you do that, can you concentrate? I was like, well, I cannot concentrate if I don't have something. She was like, here's your pills, mate. You know, like I've always done that. Like, I find it very hard to be in silence because then I get distracted by everything. If I have 2 things, my brain is bouncing, then it's very easy for me to concentrate.
Yeah, I definitely like music when I'm playing. Like the research suggests that if you play poker without music, it's like more optimal. But at the end of the day, right, there's being like slightly more optimal, and there's like having to spend your work week in silence. It's like, do you want to be more optimal or do you want to like not be miserable? It's like I'd rather like cost myself $5-10 an hour or whatever it is, like, and not hate my life. So it's kind of like so I have the music. Yeah. On that note, I think it's a good spot to call it. Next week I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about like Elon Musk was just on Joe Rogan's podcast again and talking about like AI and stuff and things like that, and some pretty cool things where Joe Rogan fires like an arrow at his Cybertruck and it's good times. But maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about something else. But aren't you away soon?
What?
Aren't you going away soon for your brother's wedding?
Yeah, but I think it's like 2-3 weeks.
Cool. So we can record next week.
Yeah. We'll have to record a couple.
Yeah. We'll
so people don't miss this wonderful show.
Exactly. It sounds, yes. Like, I released the previous one on the Thursday. I just randomly thought, why not? Let's start releasing them, not randomly, but maybe on the Thursdays. It means people haven't got to waste their Friday listening to this nonsense. So we'll ping them out on either the Sunday or the Thursday, I think. And yeah. To anyone who watched, thank you very much, and it's good to be back. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. If not, then totally understandable. And Rene, thanks for joining again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Much love. See ya. Have a good weekend.